David Attenborough once said, "The truth is, the natural world is changing, and we are totally dependent on that world. It provides our food, water, and air. It is the most precious thing we have, and we need to defend it." 97% of the Earth's water is in the oceans, and it contains over 3 million cubic miles of water. It is one of humanity's most important resources. Worldwide, approximately 280 million tons of plastic is produced annually, and much of that ends up in either landfills or oceans. Studies show that the chemical bonds between the molecules in plastic not only make them resilient, but impervious to natural degradation and incredibly harmful to wildlife, especially once waterborne. Once waterborne, plastics are most likely found circulating in one of the 5 major ocean gyres, 2 in the Pacific, 1 in the Indian, and 2 in the Atlantic. These ocean garbage patches are not solid islands of plastic. Instead, they are a mix of plastics. The North Atlantic Garbage Patch is a vast body of water that is an accumulation of garbage and is contained within the North Atlantic Subtropical Gyre. The Canadian Wildlife Federation describes it as marine litter that is whirled together by particular ocean and atmospheric conditions. These gyres make up about 40% of the sea and are circulating currents caused by the Earth's rotation and surface winds. Because of this, plastics are capable of traveling long distances, ending up in terrestrial environments, alongside shorelines, or floating in the open ocean. Dave Lawrence states in his article, "Plastic Particles Permeate the Atlantic," that the red and yellow areas of this map indicate where high amounts of plastics were found. Approximately 83% of the plastic debris was concentrated in the North Atlantic Subtropical Gyre, marked by the black contour line. Strong currents, such as the Gulf Stream, flow clockwise around the gyre. Inside the contour line, water moves slowly, which accounts for high accumulation. Michelle Skeeler states that 80% of the plastics circulating the oceans are believed to come from shorelines, 10% from fishing gear, and 10% from boats and ships. Each year, approximately 10,000 shipping containers plummet off cargo ships into the ocean. A very good example of the ocean currents and how they collect plastic debris is how a shipping crate carrying 28,000 plastic ducks was lost at sea between Hong Kong and the USA in the Pacific Ocean over 20 years ago. At least 2,000 of the ducks were believed to be circulating in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, while others have been found washed ashore in Hawaii, Alaska, South America, Australia, and the Pacific Northwest. The durability of plastics is observed each time any of these ducks emerge on shore still intact. At this point, the majority of the plastic is smaller than the eraser on a pencil, being measured in millimeters, and after being broken down by waves and chemical actions driven by sunlight. These all but make it nearly invisible and cleanup efforts even more strenuous. Unfortunately, more data is needed to assess the extent of the plastic debris, but as many as 100,000 marine mammals could die trash-related deaths each year. Globally, at least 23% of marine mammal species, 36% of seabird species, and 86% of sea turtle species are known to be affected by plastic debris. Examples of detrimental effects of plastic ingestion are the 2 sperm whales found off the coast of California in 2008 with a large amount of fishing gear in their GI tracts. One of the sperm whales had a rupture in its stomach caused by nylon netting. The other had netting, fishing line, and plastic bags completely blocking the stomach from the intestines. Studies have shown that autopsies conducted on leatherback turtles resulted in 37.2% of them having plastic in their GI tracts. Prior to passing the debris, the turtle was consuming about 8 grams of food per day. After all the debris had passed, the food intake was up to 100 grams per day. Ziegler states that between 12,000 and 24,000 tons of plastic are consumed by fish each year. Consumption of plastics by fish is concerning since small fragments of plastic may facilitate the transport of absorbed pollutants to predators within the food chain. Small plastics such as bottle caps are often mistaken by seabirds for food. In several studies, it was found that diving birds that fed on fish in the water column had less plastic in their stomachs compared to those that were surface eaters. This is because birds that maintain a diet of zooplankton are not able to distinguish between plastics and their primary food source. Ziegler states that since most adult birds regurgitate what has been ingested as a way to feed their chicks, they pass the bolus containing the plastic pieces onto their young. Birds such as the albatross and shearwater had more plastic in the first region of their stomachs in gizzards, indicating that when these plastics were regurgitated, they would be passed to the young during feeding. She also states that North Atlantic shearwaters showed an increase in consumption of plastics from 1974 to 1978 compared to 1976 to 1984. This correlates with the increase of plastic available in the oceans. Cleanup efforts include locating and tracking plastic debris to better understand which environments are most vulnerable, Lagrangian drifters, which are instruments that have been used in oceans, lakes, and rivers to measure water currents, and to collect other environmental data such as temperature and salinity. It also includes a marine debris tracker that allows community members to log marine debris found alongside coastlines and waterways, which is then recorded using GPS. One of the most innovative ways, though, is through several private organizations that have piloted the idea to help identify, minimize, and eliminate plastics in our ecosystems, including tracking trash through radio frequency identification tags and cellular transmitters using drones or barriers to help collect debris to turn those back into oil. Given these modern techniques, recycling is one of the best ways to reduce the impact of waste in our landfills and in our environment through the reuse of materials. Ziegler states that even with research, recycling, and new technologies, alternate packaging materials should be utilized to reduce the dependence on plastic goods. Plastics do not disappear and will remain in our environments indefinitely, infecting wildlife until the pollution is reduced. Water is something every organism on this planet cannot live without. If this resource is so precious that life cannot exist without it, we shouldn't be contaminating it. Unfortunately, since the gyres are found in international waters, no country is taking responsibility for cleaning up the oceans, and which explains why private companies are doing so. We have become a throwaway culture, and it has resulted with humanity leaving our footprint literally everywhere. CBC News describes the plastic footprint being worse than the carbon footprint. And so, awareness must be raised in order to cut down the amount of plastic being used, since it has a severe potential to impact our resources and our economy. This is a global problem. David Suzuki states that if we pollute the air, water, and soil, that will keep us alive and well, and destroy the biodiversity that allows natural systems to function, no amount of money will save us.